Hello folks and welcome. I have a video here for you today on automated backups using Rsync or remote sync. I'm also going to talk about Grsync for Fedora. Rsync and Grsync. So this video will be more than 2 minutes, but it does have timelines and chapters. So this is Fedora 37, the GNOME desktop. And I'll show you a quick way also how to install Grsync, because it's normally not done through your software store. It's done through terminal. I'll explain what scripts are, how to write them, what you're looking for, and how to sync them to multiple devices if you want to, or just a single device. That's all up to you. So Max is our user for today. Not that that matters much. And let me pull up the history buffer while I have terminal open. Hopefully you saw all the particulars. Again, this is a GNOME desktop. And I do have Grsync installed. I also have tweaks installed. That's why you see a date over here on that. That's one of the options that you have that you can do with tweaks, and also the minimize, maximize buttons. Anyways, let me continue. So again, none of my videos are under 2 minutes, but they all have timelines and chapters. And again, I encourage that you read the about and my community tab. This is what you need to do to install Grsync. Sudo dnf install Grsync. All right, so far so good. You can always back this video up. So let's open up the file manager for this. Let me talk about a couple of devices I have. But I'm going to do this in multiple screens. So let me open up several windows, and you'll see why in a second. I'll open up 3. One I'll use for my regular folders, and one I'll use for these devices. So I have USB 1 here, and on the bottom screen I have USB backup. These are formatted with FAT32, File Allocation Table 32. The reason I chose FAT32 was just to demo the fact that you can share files with Microsoft Windows and Macs. So you can format that any which way you want, but just be prepared to deal with permissions if you decide to use Linux file systems. FAT32 on both these devices. One is a USB hard drive, and the other one is a USB 2 USB stick. So this will be the slowest out of these two. The first thing I'm going to do is demo scripts and multiple backups at the same time. All right, and then I'll talk about Grsync, because normally Grsync is one source to one destination at a time. All right, so in my home user, I have some documents. I have stuff in my downloads. I've got stuff in the music. These are all just demo. Matter of fact, I'm going to get rid of Hello World here. These are just demo folders. Okay, and there's another one right here that I'm going to get rid of. So anyways, because I'm going to create some things a little bit later. It's the only reason I'm doing that. So go into my home folder in my documents. I have a folder called scripts that I made up. And then I took one script and I multiplied it. In other words, copied and pasted and edited these things. Anytime you create a script, you need to do it with a text editor. Okay, so open up a text editor. So the text editor for this version here is the regular text editor that comes built into Fedora. Okay, now let me actually open this one first to let you see the actual lines. All right, just be aware that these are scripts that was written in a text editor, not a word processor. They're very small. It's 59 bytes. All right, let me explain all of this stuff. Again, hopefully you are watching this on a screen where you can see this. Again, investigate your own player gearbox, that little gear down there on your player if you need to make this a little bit bigger. But in either case, the first line states bin bash on there. The pound exclamation point /bin/bash. It's called the bin bash statement. And basically that tells the script that it's going to be using Bourne Again Shell. So Bourne Again Shell is going to use Rsync, remote sync. That's what Rsync stands for. I do encourage that you look this up on the internet yourself also to get all the different commands and options. So I'm using rsync -a. That's an option, the archive option. Then I put a space and I put a tilde /documents. That's my home folder for this user. Instead of typing it out, my user's name is Max today. Instead of writing his folder name in there, I just put a tilde. /documents. It's got to be spelled the same. Then I put another space in there and put this statement in here called run media max USB backup. Now, where did I get this information? All I need to do is point at the device. That one says run media max USB backup in uppercase letters. So when you are formatting and naming your devices, one of the things that I do recommend, and you don't have to follow this rule, is I don't put spaces in the names. And I sometimes use uppercase only, but I'm going to show the mix in here today. That's all that means. So this is called source, and this is destination. So I'm sending documents over to USB backup as a copy, as an archive. The beauty of using Rsync is once the folder is created on that device, and there's no changes, when you run these scripts, it doesn't do anything. As soon as you make one change to any document in that folder, it syncs it up by rerunning the script. Hopefully that was clear. So right now I'm going to close this. Then I'm going to bring this one up. This one is a little bit more complex. All that means is there's more lines in there. I still start with the bin bash statement. This is going to rsync documents, pictures, music, and downloads to USB backup. Then it's going to rsync documents, pictures, and music to USB 1. So this is doing multiple things. I also have, in addition to the -A, I have a V here. The reason I added the V is because I wanted to let you see the difference between this script and this script. So this one has no V on it. If I run this right now, it's going to make a copy going over to USB backup of my documents, but it's only going to bring up a terminal box that's blank. So let me run that for you. Anytime you write scripts, you got to make sure that they're also be executed as a program. As you can see, it's pretty small. Right now, the terminal box opened and closed. I don't know if you saw how fast that was, but there was no file names in there. So let me get rid of that. Now I'm going to run this one. And this one has the V's on them, on all of them. That means it's going to display my files as it's working. I'll move it to the center so you can see what's going on. Right now it's creating, well, it's already done with the pictures, and now it's working on music. It's that quick. Now it's working on downloads. My downloads folder has a lot of stuff in it. Mostly mouse pointer stuff. I was doing that for another experiment. All right, so as soon as it gets done with these 4 folders, it's going to start working on the one up here. But at least you can see what it's doing on a terminal. And I also would not suggest closing that until it's finished. All right, right now it's working on the USB stick. As you can see, it's a little bit slower. And now it's creating pictures folders, and you can see the actual file names. It's even got one silly one in there. It said 15jpeg.jpg on it. I'll actually let you see it. This is a valid file, believe it or not. All right, now it's working on music. So it's doing 3 folders instead of 2. I thought there was only 2. I'm sorry. So what? In either case, I'm letting it finish. So now you can see it's doing music. It's syncing up, and it's finished. So let's do a recap on this script. So I rsynced with the AV on it, meaning archive with the display on the terminal box where it will display the files as it's copying them. I rsynced documents to USB backups, pictures to USB backups, music to USB backup, and downloads to USB backups. So basically these 4 folders. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then documents were going over to USB 1, music, and pictures. Pardon me. So what happens if I rerun this script after it's done this? Really nothing. It just kind of verifies things and stops. Now what happens is if I make a change though, let's pick on the music folder and create another one. You saw that earlier. I had that in there for a demo earlier as I'm redoing this video. All right, so Hello World is not being created in my home folder music, but it hasn't been sunk up yet. So let's take a look at USB 1 and open up music and let you see that, and then go over to USB backup and do the same. So now I'm going to rerun that script. And I was using, I think, this one, so I'm going to run that. And all it did was verify that all the folders were the same. It went through the process of verifying that there was no other changes in here except for the Hello World in my music folders. That's what makes Rsync faster the second time around, because you already have the folders here. All it looks for is changes. That's what makes Rsync fast. How big is this again? It's 316 bytes. How big is that one simple one? 59 bytes. Now let me close this. Let's talk about Grsync. So I installed Grsync through terminal. All right. Let me clean this out. So let me first go over to the main folder of USB 1 and do a dump. And that's going to take a while probably to delete because it's so slow. And do the same on the USB hard drive. That's a little bit faster. All right, so basically I am going to eliminate every piece of information in here and let's just see what the defaults look like. Okay, I'm going to turn all the stuff onto default. This is when you were just freshly installed Grsync. Grsync is the graphical version of Rsync. Okay, so Grsync again has to be installed through terminal. In some distributions you can find Grsync right in their software stores. I don't know why this one isn't in here, but anyways, you can install Grsync through terminal. I showed that earlier. Now let's talk about what's in here. You have browse source, browse destination. Your source is what you're going to be copying, and to what destination. I have two choices here. You have switch source and destination. Use that one sparingly. Simulation, execute, and what is the Rsync line? Again, this is Grsync, the graphical version of Rsync. Remote sync. So this one is using a -R-T-V /progress-S. It's a mouthful. Okay, so you see that command line right now. Now I'm going to open up my source. What do we want to use? Let's use documents and hit open. So it puts the whole line in here this time. It says home max documents. If you remember, my script only had a tilde in front of it. All right, now I'm going to hit open. To which one of these do I want to send it to? I'll do USB backup. It's faster. So it puts the whole line in there. It's still the same line as my one in my script, because all I have to do is point at it. All right, so now the Rsync command line looks like that. Still got the same front end, my source, and my destination. So far, so good. All right. Do we have preferences? Again, you can turn these on and off to your liking. And sessions. What are the sessions? Well, anytime you have a source and destination, keep in mind you're doing one thing at a time here. You can write sessions. You can hit plus and give it a name. And you can do as many as you want. You can also delete them. So those are sessions. You can add it in here, delete, import or export. You can also do plus or delete here. What does this little button do? Let me pull it to the side and click on it. It does a dry run. Okay, doesn't do anything, as you noticed. That's just a dry run. Give you an example of what it's doing. The actual run button, the play button, will perform whatever actions that you put in here. All right, so let me talk about basic options. So it's source and destination is the normal way of looking at things, unless you did a switch over here. Okay. You also have a button that you can turn on to enable the switch button over here. I do recommend that you do the source up here and back up here. That's just my preference. But anyways, you can do it however you want to do it, but you may end up with weird results sometimes. But more importantly, you're doing source to destination. Now, what about these guys? I would just, if you're a basic new user to Grsync, just leave the defaults. If you're wanting to know what these are, my suggestion is to go look up Grsync on the internet and find out what all these options mean. Also the advanced options also, and extra options. In general though, you just keep the basics and you perform the action of whatever source and destination. So let me do that right now and hit play. So right now you're going to see that it's actually displaying the stuff that it's outputting. It was too quick, but anyways, you could also expand this box out. But the message completed successfully. So let me do one that's a little bit slower, go into that device. Let's pick on, let's do music to the USB stick. That way it'll be a little bit slower. Now you can see the name of the songs going across there. And you can look at the output if you like. Again, it's doing this. If I can grab a hold of that. And now the status is complete. I'm doing this one folder at a time. But I can create a multiple sessions though, or add a new session every time to something different. This is for the graphical user part. So this is one of the reasons I prefer scripts, because I can do this a little bit faster in a script, and I can do multiple folders to go into multiple destinations almost at the same time with one script. I demoed that earlier for you. So these scripts that I wrote in here, and you can too, they're real easy to write, is you can make these really quick. And more importantly, you can have this sync up to several locations at the same time. Well, sequentially, but you know, if I wanted to add more stuff, let me first perform a full sync. And I'll leave these two folders alone because it won't resync them. It will just create the other ones on the multi. And I'm going to let it complete. And then we're going to add some files. And a folder possibly, depending on how we're going to do this here, or I'm going to do this here. So this would be the longest part, is when you do the initial sync up. You noticed I've been deleting a bunch of things, only just to give you the demo so you can see a fresh sync up. But when this thing gets done, if you made no changes to the system, there really isn't anything for the script to do other than to verify. Okay, so I'm going to let this thing completely finish. Now, why would I want to use script versus GR? Because GR is normally used with one source to one destination. I am doing multiple folders to multiple destinations. You may not need that, but you may be doing multiple folders to possibly one device. That's all up to you. Now, what happens when I rerun this thing? Not really much of anything. It's just going to verify. And then it'll close the box because it's done. But as soon as I make a change though, so what's a common folder we have? We have a common folder in pictures. So we have, I'll make this a little bit larger. So we have nothing but photos in here, or wallpaper. I'm going to add another folder. I'll just put a Hello World folder in here. Now if I rerun the script over here, this multi-backup, what it's going to do is sync up that extra folders in pictures on both these devices. Okay, and I'll do it right now. So you may not see this folder yet, but now you do, and now you do. What happens when I rerun the script again? Nothing. Pretty much just, it doesn't matter if I have this device on the bottom and this one on the top, or the other way around. This is still going to work the same way. All it's doing is verifying, and it's finished. There was no changes, in other words. But this is what makes Rsync, whether you use Grsync for single folders to single devices, or using script for multiple folders to multiple devices, it's still Rsync no matter how you slice it. And Rsync basically is remote sync that is going to check your source to destination. It is going to verify that you have these documents here if you are syncing them via script over to here. Is there any changes? If there's none, it doesn't have anything to do. However, if I make one change in here, if I add a file or a folder, it's going to sync it up. All right, so in a nutshell, you could do it the old-fashioned way. You can go and copy and paste. And what do you got to deal with? Oh, you got to deal with all of these things. Are you merging? Are you skipping? You got to answer a bunch of questions. Rsync does this in the background for you. It's going to verify files. And if it doesn't need them, it's certainly not going to ask you a question. Do you really want me to back up that file? No, you already have it. There's no change to the file. Rsync knows this. It knows it by the information on the file. Thank you for watching, folks.